Today's show brought to you by Birch Gold. I buy my gold from Birch Gold. Text Dan to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold. Today's show also brought to you by ExpressVPN. Millions of veterans and active duty military have risked and continue to risk their lives for our freedom. The irony is that our country is becoming less and less free by the day. Our phones are listening to us. Tech companies are tracking all of our online activity for profit. These days, fighting for freedom can't just be the job of our military. We have to do our part at home, too. One product I use every day is called ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that sends 100% of my online activity through secure, encrypted servers so no one can track your online activity. With ExpressVPN, none of your online activity is logged. They have a strict zero logs policy. ExpressVPN can't share your data if they don't have it. ExpressVPN is easy to use. It can take one click, works on all your devices. If you're not in the military but still want to fight for your freedom, get ExpressVPN right now. You can get an extra 4 months for free when you use this link. Go to expressvpn.com/Bongino and get 4 extra months of ExpressVPN. That's expressvpn.com/Bongino. All right, fellas, big show today. There's the bell. Of course, the media hysteria continues over my transition from the business world back into the United States government. Don't worry, we will not be doing a segment on that today. I'm kind of worn out about it. You are too, and there's so much going on that in the last now 2 weeks remaining with you, I want to make sure we get to the news and we do our jobs. Because my job was, like I always said, edutainment. I want the show to be Hat Tip Boogie Down Productions, right? If the show is not entertaining, you're not going to stay here. But I wanted to be educational too. We're all going to learn something. And one guy who is becoming a PhD level talking head edutainment mastermind, because he's not only very educational and smart where you feel like you learned something, but he's freaking entertaining, folks. It's really hard to watch people on TV who are boring, correct? Of course, Dan. You'd be stunned how many people don't get that. There is obviously an enjoyment, entertainment component to doing content creation. Just because it's a serious topic like politics doesn't mean people need to come here and be bored. You'd be shocked how many people in this space do not understand that. A guy who gets it and is, I mean, he's not even a rising star. He's just become a star, is Scott Jennings over at CNN. I say this as a compliment. I don't know how this guy hasn't been fired yet. He really makes the CNN liberal host look quite silly all the time. But I got to tell you, if you missed this gem last night, this may be one of his finer performances. Keep in mind with Scott Jennings, he's typically on a panel with 3 to 5 liberals. I mean, pretty devout, hardcore liberals, and a host who's usually tilted in the liberal direction, almost always. And he manages to constantly make everyone faceplant. But last night was the best. And this is about 1:30, but it's worth your time. He's on with 4 or 5 liberals, and they're trying to give him a, quote, civics lesson. And they don't seem entirely unaware that the president's the commander-in-chief of the military. Just to be clear, you're on a national cable news network, and you're hearing about this for the first time on CNN? I'm not kidding. And watch the use of the term civics lesson and see who really gets one. Check this out.
It seems to me that you all both believe that the unelected part of our government, the bureaucracy, has a responsibility to resist the political leadership. Is that your view?
That's not actually what we
not at
said.
all.
We said they are upholding the Constitution, the principles of the Constitution, and at times
how
we
is
have
Trump
seen,
shredding the Constitution?
My God, he's like,
I mean, seriously, do we have to give you a civics lesson that we have?
I don't know.
We put all power in the executive branch.
Holding the
legislative branch, the FBI. Now we're in control of the military. We're silencing media. This is what you do in a dictatorship.
Are you suggesting that the president is not the commander-in-chief of the military?
I am suggesting that the president is going to put in charge somebody who is going to contravene the Constitution. And at some near point, this conversation will look very silly for you because it will be obvious. And right now, you're gaslighting. But when we get to the actual rubber of the road of this, it will be clear.
I'm interested in this conversation. He's going to put someone in charge who will contravene the Constitution. Like who? What do you mean by that? The president is in charge of the military, is he not? You said he's going to put someone in charge of the military?
The president is in charge of the military. That is how it works.
He was elected president. We, according to the Constitution, vest all executive authority in a president. And the concept that the military should be an independent agency or that the bureaucracy should resist the political leadership of this government is extraordinarily dangerous.
That's what we said. That's a straw man.
That's not what we said. That's literally not what we said.
I'm just repeating back to you your own
I
words.
didn't.
Guys, this guy is an absolute gem, okay? I'm a +1, -1 guy. Passionate, but not emotional. If you watch my show, you get the distinction, okay? And by the way, thank you to Barrett Media, Garrett Seawright, for writing a really, really nice article. I deeply appreciate it. It said, what radio hosts can learn from Bongino or something. It talked about how authentic the show is. That was really nice. Being authentic is obviously authentic. You don't really try. You're authentic or you're not, but I really appreciate that. But this guy, Jennings, is a gem. Couple things I want to point out. How bad does it have to be on the panel when an obviously left-leaning host like Abby Phillips, who, you know, to her credit, she has Jennings on. And I mean, it gives her, this is smart. I mean, we used to have liberals on my show on Fox, Unfiltered. Guy used to call, remember the rebuttal? Guy hated the rebuttal. Guy hated it. But I thought it was important on a show called Unfiltered to let liberals come on and say how they feel so that we could debate it. So hat tip to her for having Jennings on. But she's obviously left-leaning. How bad does it have to be when she's even correcting the panel like, yeah, the president's in charge of the military. Quote, that's how it works. You're on, guys, listen, CNN still has an audience. It's not a huge audience, but they have an audience, okay? It exists. Imagine being on a national cable news network and saying something so ridiculous that we're in some kind of constitutional crisis because the president is managing the military and the FBI who fall underneath the management purview of the president. Scott also has to read to them the Constitution, the powers of the presidency delineated in the Constitution, that the executive powers are vested in a president, not many presidents, not the president and an independent bureaucracy, not a president, independent agencies, in a president. That's in the actual Constitution. Producer Jim has a copy on his desk. There's an app for the Constitution too. I like the app. It's easy to navigate through. You can look up Article 1, Article 2 involving the presidency, and Article 3 courts. You can look it up, you know. Oh, boy. You know, the resistance this time, quotes, has definitely been a little more muted compared to last time. But I find the resistance this time to be so confused about the hills to die on, whether it's the Doge or the same fascist tyranny arguments they've been using forever, which haven't worked and you lost an election on, that it's almost turned into this like extinction burst of behavior we talk about all the time with the Coke machine. You put $1 in the Coke machine, you don't get a Coke, and you just pound them. They're just pounding the machine because they're not being rewarded by this. But the change has been refreshing. Folks, the W's, I tell you, I have always been proud of this amazing, unbelievable, incredible country full of patriots and entrepreneurs and heroes. I mean, the United States is the beacon of freedom, man. That flag, it's not a tablecloth. It's not a napkin. The fabric part is irrelevant. It's what it stands for that matters. It's why I'm headed back. But watching this change, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't feel an elevated sense of pride in what this country did for itself in rescuing itself from all the horrors of the last administration. The change has been incredible. You want to see this? You never see this in the last administration. This is HUD Secretary Scott Turner, wonderful guy, at the president's first cabinet meeting yesterday, at the request of President Trump, starting off a cabinet meeting with a prayer. What a refreshing change of direction. Check this out.
Most importantly, where are you? This is a gentleman who's going places, the head of HUD, and he's going to say, you all know him, and you're going to say grace, and then we'll have our meeting, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this awesome privilege, Father, to be in your presence. God, thank you that you've allowed us to see this day. The Bible says that your mercies are new every morning. And Father God, we give you the glory and the honor. Thank you, God, for President Trump, Father, for appointing us. Father God, thank you for anointing us to do this job. Father, we pray you'll give the president, the vice president wisdom, Father God, as they lead. Father, I pray for all of my colleagues that are here around the table and in this room. Lord God, we pray that we would lead with a righteous clarity. Father God, that as we serve the people of this country in every prospective agency, every job that we have, Father, we would humble ourselves before you.
I see all of you, man. There were a lot of comments in the chat. You guys are frying the chat. God bless him. Proving 81. Praise God for this moment. You guys are great. Dino Ray, amen. Dennis, Dems are whack jobs. Awesome. I love you guys, man. I think you get what I get. That this is, folks, the Constitution is not freedom from religion. It's freedom of religion. Scott Turner and President Trump are free to pray as they wish. And man, I'm going to tell you, I've always been proud of this place, always. Even despite our ups and downs, poor leadership, terrible Democrats and Republicans in charge. However, I'd be lying to you if I said over the last month or so, I think you guys feel the same, that we stepped it up, man. We stepped it up. And stuff is finally getting done. Stuff we've only talked about for a really long time. And again, I'd be remiss if we did not recognize the efforts of President Trump and Elon Musk to finally do what a lot of Republicans for decades were afraid to do, which is call out the real problem. You know what? I hate to go out of order, guys. That Axios floater I had, can you throw that in there? I threw this, you know what I'm talking about, right? I threw this in there this morning. The Democrats, even Axios, which is a left-leaning outlet, let's be candid about it, okay? Axios, even this morning, whether they meant to do it or not, kind of implicitly recognized what Donald Trump and Elon are telling you, that we don't have a tax problem, folks. Our tax revenue every year to the government, even if you're a believer in big, high confiscatory tax rates. I am not, but if you are, you're still winning. Tax revenue keeps going up. Here's Axios this morning, Mike Allen. What's that? He hates this. I love it. This is a good. He said, since Trump signed his 2017 basically tax cut into law, deficits are up 248%. So any growth they helped achieve has been swamped by spending. Folks, you guys really need to, McGrain crew, P1s out there, Bongino Army folks, screenshot this and paste it to your door. Is he not telling you what I've been telling you for the 10 years I've been doing this podcast? The tax rates at this point will, within a certain band, will almost always follow Hauser's law. You will get roughly the same amount as a percentage of GDP because as the taxes go higher, people just do more things to avoid paying taxes. Tax evasion is a crime, clear as day. Tax avoidance is an American pastime. Folks, that's why people hire accountants. How do I avoid this? Legally. How do I avoid that? Legally. That's what they do. Keep that up for a second. Screenshot this. Get a back tattoo of this. Kid, fact checkers. They've been swamped by spending. They're basically admitting it doesn't matter what you tax people. The government just keeps spending more money. That's why this clip, Trump and Elon Musk at the cabinet meeting yesterday, is so important. Folks, the message has to get out there that even if you're a big government guy or gal out there, I'm not. Even if you are, you have lost the initiative. You have lost the story. Even Axios is admitting this now. We just spend too much money. Watch this. V2.
We're cutting down government. We're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy. We have a lot of people that aren't doing their job. We have a lot of people that don't exist.
When you have the megaphone like President Trump, it is so critical you get this message out there. Folks, remember the third party thing. I get it. If you love big government, that argument that we're too bloated, we're too big, we're spending too much money. Spending is taxation, by the way. It's either taxation now or taxation in the future. I get it. It's falling on deaf ears with a lot of people who fall on the left side of the political spectrum. I understand that. But remember my third party theory. It doesn't matter. There's always a third party listening who's not a Democrat or Republican. Maybe they're an independent. They're just scrolling through Twitter one day and they see this. And maybe they hear this by President Trump. And maybe they start looking this up themselves. And they say, you know what? These crazy conservatives are right. Tax revenue keeps going up and up and up and up. And yet the deficits keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Meaning we have a government spending problem. Folks, we're in the danger zone. There's a body of research out there, and it's been called into question about the specifics of it, but the results of it are pretty robust. Once you hit a debt level where we're floating in government debt at about 100% of GDP, which we are way over when you factor in entitlements, way over. Folks, growth just grinds to a halt. We have got to fix this. It is not an issue for tomorrow. Hey, stupid, kick the can down the road. Whatever. It's an issue for now. There's only power in now. We've got to do it now. And this is one of the reasons you're seeing some folks in the media try to draw divisions and cleave a big division between President Trump and Elon. I'm telling you, I know this from friends of mine in the administration. It is not going to happen. These guys respect each other. All of your articles out there, President Elon trying to get into President Trump's head, they are absolutely falling on deaf ears. How many times is he going to have to relitigate this, his support for what Elon's doing, before you realize it's a dead end? We know what you're doing. V3, Trump with the cabinet. Check this out.
President Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise, and if you had heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't happy with the way things were going, and if so, what are you doing to address those any dissatisfaction?
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, we'll throw him out of here. Is anybody unhappy? They have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled. So I'm just taking a note here. Guy's like, I think you should. When Guy says you need to talk about something like Star Wars, he's been here the longest. He's got seniority. So I feel like even I work for Guy at this point. I'm like, I better say that. Do you get the point there? You see what they're doing now? What is my kind of golden rule of left-wing media analysis of things? Be careful and learn the distinction between being told a story and the story. A story you're being told is President Elon is taking over the cabinet. Now when they're moving on to the cabinet, President Trump is in danger. They're trying to play into everybody's ego. The cabinet, you guys have no authority. Elon's taking it from you. You see what they're trying to do? The story is quite different. He has President Trump's back. These cabinet officials understand Elon's not in charge. President Trump is. But Elon considers himself kind of like tech support. And the president, as the executive, has the power to do this. Biden, Obama have always appointed advisors. There's nothing new here. I want you to understand that. You're being told a story. Now they're moving on to the cabinet, try to get cabinet officials to leak behind the scenes. It's not going to happen. We don't like Elon. In charge of this fake WWE fight. It's not going to happen. Guy asked me to kind of clear up what's going on with Silverlock. Folks, Silverlock is going to be the new company. There are a lot of ethics laws, which we're going to obviously going to comply with, dotted I's, crossed T's. So I have to divorce myself from the company. So we're going to move the company. It's going to be relabeled Silverlock, but nothing is going to change on the tech side. Don't worry about the Rumble channel and things like that. But I can't be involved with it for ethics reasons. I hope you understand. So Silverlock, you'll see it right there. And you see my face on there for now, although if you could cut my face out, again, I'd really appreciate it. That is definitely a face for radio. You see Evita, Haley Karania, her show starting. Stat, I think she already moved. I think she's down here. I was kidding again, but you guys are fast. So there's Evita, Haley, and we've got a number of surprises. But this is going to be, thank you guys, but this will still be your home. It'll just be a company run, as it always has been, by Paula, and I won't be having any input. So, I hope to see you guys on the other side. But silverlock.com if you want updates. Silver, L-O-C-H, silverlock.com. I'll give you all the updates, and you'll see it's not going to change much for you guys. It'll change a lot for me.
So thank you for asking that question. Guy said Guy's been monitoring the chat. All right, quick break, and I'm going to get back to this, showing you how we are on the path, ladies and gentlemen, to almost certain mathematical bankruptcy if we don't course correct quick. And the proof of life email. What's that? Stay tuned. Are you one of those yo-yo dieters? You diet, lose weight, then you gain it all back with a few extra pounds, and then you get that really bad look because you lost your muscle too? You don't want to do that. It's not good for you. Studies show it can increase your risk of a heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. You wind up looking worse at the end of it too. Break free of that up and down diet pattern. That's a reason doctors created Lean. Lean, it's a supplement. I used it. It was fantastic. The results, it's not an injection. You don't need a prescription. The science behind Lean is impressive. It's studied natural ingredients target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar. It helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy. If you're tired of losing weight and gaining it back, if you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace, Lean was created for you. So let's get you started today with 20% off when you enter code DAN20 at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. That's code DAN20 at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. This guy's been with me a long time. Really appreciate the company. Statement of product. These statements of product have not been evaluated by the FDA, not a diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease, and it's not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. So thank you, Brickhouse Nutrition. So, folks, the country, I just told you before, the numbers don't lie. When you hit this massive tidal wave of debt that equals 100% of your GDP, without talking in economic wonkery, you guys get it, you're smart. It's the equivalent of, say your salary is $80,000 a year. You're doing okay, you're not doing great, but you're doing okay. You're supporting a couple of kids, you get to take a vacation. If you owed $80,000 a year and you cannot keep up with the interest payments at all, so that you're barely paying down the interest, so the principal keeps building because the interest is getting piled in, right? You are in a lot of fiscal trouble. That is the tipping point. That's where we are right now. I'm not trying to scare you, provoke anxiety, because panic, you don't want the bed, and it rhymes with hit. That's no good. Never do that. Don't panic. But knowledge is power. We are at the tipping point now. We could be looking at a really dangerous scenario if we don't get this under control. Elon's a smart guy. Guy sends rockets into space, catches them with those chopsticks things on the way back. He reinvented the car market. He's not dumb. He understands the simple math of this. Here he is, V4. Elon's talking about his goal. He wants to stop the country from going bankrupt. This isn't hard. Check this out.
The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here.
I do it every time because I've only got a couple weeks left with you guys before I engage in this new mission here. Do you guys hate these economic segments? Yeah, let's do it. No, let's make it easy. Okay. Yes, you like them. So, yes is usually, so why or yes, or no, I hate them. Because I've got 2 weeks left and I'm really fascinated by this stuff because, and the only reason I'm fascinated by it is the answers are so easy. The implementation is hard. I understand getting the media and Congress to act and bureaucrats and lobbyists to act because they're all feeding from the government trough. I understand that that's hard. I get, wow, man, this chat is like, Chris at Rumble tells me we melt the chat like no one else. Okay, good. Wow, good. Thank you. The answer is so simple. It is actually this simple. Notice I hate literal. It is actually this simple. Just stop spending a lot of money. That's it. Because if we grow at 2 or 3% and our debt only grows at 1%, then we will eventually at some point mathematically get ahead of the debt. But we're not doing it. It's really stunning. I played the bankruptcy one. So when we talk about this bloated federal bureaucracy, cue up for me if you would, V5. There is a reason Elon, OPM, the Doge, and President Trump, who's in charge of all of this, he's the country's chief executive. You saw the constitutional lesson by the great Scott Jennings in the beginning, okay? when they sent out an email to federal employees saying, hey, man, can you just list 5 things you did? Basically, all you had to do was hit reply. You could have put a character in there. They would have at least known you were watching your email. This is not a winner to the Democrats out there attacking Elon and Doge and the team and OPM for doing this. Trust me when I tell you, I'm not here for political advice, especially moving forward. I'm just telling you, this is a loser of an argument because every American that works for a living at some point has had to tell their boss, or show their boss, here's what I did today. Everyone. Check this out.
About half of the government employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week. Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can the American people expect to see results from that?
Yes. Well, to be clear, I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and 2 neurons? So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is, anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email?
That's all you had to do, man. All you had to do. You realize your 5 things you probably could have responded back. Barney, Power Rangers, the Flintstones. It doesn't matter. No one was reading it. I sincerely doubt someone at OPM was going to go through every email and wrote, hey, Guy wrote back that he fixed Wirecast yesterday, did training at the news studio, moved some of the objects and cameras over, debugged the system. No one was reading that. They just wanted you to reply to make sure you weren't dead, because one of the golden rules of the damn Bongino show is don't get dead. Wait, I know we got to take a break. Can we? Yes, we got to. Where's that Kim Strassel thing? Can we put that up there now? I know I'm going all out of order, but this is so important. I'm on the air yesterday on radio. You want to see how inefficient your government is, however bad you think it is. I promise you it's worse, okay? Kim Strassel has this piece up, 12 things she writes on Wednesday and Thursday. It's always a good. I like Kim's work. It's not a big MAGA person, but that's okay. We don't have. You got to get a wide variety of ideas in there. She has this piece up called "We Pay Dead People." Yes, and in the piece there is apparently, folks. I don't know if you knew this. There's a death file, and a master death file in the government. In other words, who's dead? And she writes, while Social Security does mistakenly pay out beneficiaries, the IG reports that many of the $72 billion in improper payments was overpayments to living people. Okay, fair enough. Good to know. I like facts. So she goes on. I was totally unaware of this. Part 2 of that one. That there's a master death file, apparently. And look at this. Read this. You want to pull your hair out? With me, it's hard. It's so short. You wouldn't want to do it anyway. What is that called? Is that trichotillomania for you psychology majors in there? I forget. I'm thinking back to my psych days. The far bigger problem is that the Treasury Department until recently did not have access to Social Security's master, basically, death list. So was unable to add the names to a do not pay system, which other agencies use. She writes checks to pay heating costs, housing subsidies, disability insurance, pensions, farming subsidies, Medicaid, Medicare, disaster aid. She goes on and on. The Treasury Department, up until recently, had no access to this death list at all. Folks, how many of you out there run a small, medium, or large business? Can you imagine having an employee who quits and is dead, and they're still getting an employment check and nobody picks it up? I mean, it's tough.
This video of Trump talking about Social Security to 300-year-old people.
Yeah, play it. Play this video. Check this out. I did see this one. Play it.
3.9 million people
are on the age of Social Security from 130 years old to 139 years old. Now, the all-time record, I heard, is a woman who was 127 years old. That's the record. A woman from a certain country where they have actually people that live pretty long, actually. And she was 127 years old. That's pretty old. But we're topping her by millions of people. 3.5 million people from the age 140 to 149 years old. 1.3 million people are on Social Security from the age 150 to 159. And over 130,000 people are on Social Security over the age of 160 years old, okay? Including 1,039 people, think of it, over 1,000 people between the ages of 220 to 229. And one person between the age of 240 years old to 249. And the record topper, there is one person on Social Security who's 360 years old, which is approximately 110 years older than our country.
That's impressive, man. I mean, 360 years old. Now, the Democrats' defense to this has been, oh, they're not payments going out to those people. The database is just so antiquated, old, and inefficient that it doesn't remove those people from the list. That's your defense? That a 360-year-old is still in a database you're trying to manage to pay living people Social Security? What is that person, Lestat? Tom Cruise from Interview from a Vampire? What are they doing to live that long? Sauna, cold plunge, collagen, NAD injections, Botox? What is happening? Gene therapy? I'd love to know. I just watched that Nosferatu. Are they Nosferatu? Your defense is that the government just doesn't have a database efficient enough to get dead people off of a payments list from a program going bankrupt that people live on and need? That's your defense. It's sad, man. I mean, sad. We got to clean this mess up. We got 2 years to do it before the midterms. Quick break here. As someone who lives a public life and shares content online, I'm hyper aware of how information is tracked and used. Your personal information can be sold online right now without you even knowing. So I recommend Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that helps remove your personal information from hundreds of data broker websites. Go to joindeleteme.com/Bongino, enter code Bongino at checkout. When you sign up, just provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. Delete Me sends you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/Bongino. Use code Bongino at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/Bongino. Enter code Bongino at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/Bongino. Use code Bongino. And our last sponsor today is NetSuite. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts, you'll get 10 answers. Bull market, bear market, rates will rise, rates will fall. Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 41,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, HR into one fluid platform. With NetSuite, there's one unified business management suite. There's one source of truth, giving you visibility and control to make quick decisions. And with real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. And when you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. And I'll tell you, if I ever need a product, if I ever need a product line like this, NetSuite's where we're going to go. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. Speaking of opportunity, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Bongino. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/Bongino, netsuite.com/Bongino. Thank you. Thanks, guys. I always appreciate it. The sponsors pay to keep the show free, and we appreciate you guys staying tuned there. Folks, Jasmine Crockett has been the gift that keeps on giving up in Congress. Some of the stuff she says is borderline ridiculous. I mean, sometimes you have to wonder if this is a comedy act or not. Here's Jasmine Crockett, Democrat member of Congress, amazingly correlating the Donald Trump peace talks with the launch of World War III. I don't know how this connection was made, but magically she manages to do it. Check this out.
Instead, we're pushing conspiracy theories, and some of them are killing people. It's the same thing that we have coming out of Doge. It's the reason that people are dying. It's the reason that farmers are losing their farms, because we continue to peddle conspiracy theories. It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who.
Now, J.D. Vance, who is a remarkable vice presidential candidate with political messaging talents we haven't seen since a guy named Donald Trump, and they make for the perfect kind of foil to each other, given their presentation styles, although getting the same message across. J.D. Vance addressed this very same topic, too. It's really shocking how the formerly dove kind of peacenik left and media people who painted George W. Bush as a warmonger for Iraq and elsewhere, whether you agreed with it or not, you can go back and look that stuff up. There were leftist operations like Code Pink. I remember I was an agent when it was happening. They would show up at every site on the corner with the signs, you know, you're free to protest all you want. But it's remarkable how the media back then in the Iraq war seemed to be interested in a more dovish approach to foreign policy. And now you've got Donald Trump saying something very simple. Hey, listen, Russia's basically a nuclear-powered opponent with the United States, but there are common interests, whether you like them or not. Something that came up recently. This is important. Pay attention to this. This is really important. The development in the Arctic, in disputed areas, disputed because some people are claiming it in some countries that probably don't have a solid legal claim. However, there are a lot of resources up there. And with technology, the ability to get at those resources is going to require, at some point, diplomacy. This is just a fact. So Donald Trump is saying, hey, given that we were in a complicated world where there's a lot of gray and not everything is black and white, it's probably best to talk to this nuclear-powered opponent of ours in many ways rather than engage in nuclear war, which is really shocking because, as you heard with Jasmine Crockett, she's making the opposite claim, that somehow talking to Putin and trying to get some resolution on these complicated problems is somehow an off-ramp to war. It doesn't make any sense. Vice President Vance handled this perfectly in the cabinet meeting yesterday, addressing this exact same point with the media. Please show us how what we're doing, traditional diplomacy. I mean, remember, it was Hillary Clinton with the reset button with Sergei Lavrov and the Russians. They tried to. Why now, all of a sudden, is it so different? Check this out.
As the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think that I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen of the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat in chief as the president of the United States.
That's what the president does as the chief executive, just like a CEO negotiates on behalf of the business. Vice President Vance is 100% correct. Folks, I am a realist on foreign policy. We have a lot of countries, a lot of foreign policy professionals on both sides when we negotiate that are looking out for their own countries near mercenary interest. Donald Trump is starting to see through that. And he's saying, well, we need to kind of be the same way. We have to view this as a +1, -1. Not everything is black or white here. Perfect example was the withdrawal from Afghanistan. By the way, folks, a umbrella policy I supported. I didn't think we should have been in Afghanistan as long as we were. Just my humble opinion. I spent some time in Afghanistan. I'm not pretending to be chief negotiator for our Afghan policy or anything like that. But I've been over there and I've seen both Kabul. I saw Bagram before President Biden pulled out and abandoned Bagram. And what happened is it resulted in the death and the collapse of a government right there and the death of American heroes in our military. Secretary Hegseth's had enough of that. And he is going to engage in an investigation on this if you watched the cabinet meeting yesterday. And the answer I'd like, everybody paying attention, this is important. And Secretary Hegseth, I know, is on this, is why did we abandon Bagram Air Base? Folks, if you've ever been there, it was a fortress military facility. Fortress. It was if you're talking about military facilities, this was the gold standard. Why would you abandon your castle first to go and defend a basically indefensible city in the middle of Kabul? It made no sense. And everybody warned Biden against it. That's the question I want answered. Listen to Secretary Hegseth talk about this.
Doing a complete review of every single aspect of what happened with the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan and plan to have full accountability. It's one of the first things we announced at the Defense Department for that reason, sir. Certainly, General Raisin Kane, who's on his way in, was not a part of that. Instead, was a part of leading the effort against ISIS by untying the hands of warfighters and finishing the job properly and then bringing our troops home. So we're taking a very different view, obviously, than the previous administration, and there will be full accountability.
I don't see big promotions in that group. And I think they're going to be largely gone. I know the man on my left. I think they're going to be largely gone. That was a horrible display. And, I've dealt with the parents and the family of the 13 that were killed. But, nobody ever talks about the 40 that were so badly hurt with the arms and the legs and the face and the whole thing, the missing arms and legs. It was so terrible.
This is what I'm talking about. Donald Trump, the pragmatist, the spreadsheets guy. He can't figure out why you would do something so contradictory to the mission. Hey, we need to get out of Afghanistan, which is something he was pretty much committed to. But you don't just walk away and leave a military facility abandoned with your assets, allow the enemy to take it, and then try to defend an indefensible city. I mean, that's pretty much common sense, isn't it? By the way, I'm reading all your stuff in the chat, and guys, I promise you, like I'm committed to this. I'm seeing your questions, and I'm totally picking up what you're putting down. I got you. Don't sweat it, man. I read everything. And I appreciate I know I keep bringing it up. I'm sorry, but I've only got a few shows left with you guys. And it is as bitter, sweet as anything I've ever experienced. I'm at this range of emotion. By the way, I did get some sleep last night. I said on the radio show, I was really having, for the first time in a while, I was having problems sleeping at night. I was getting up, and there's so much I want to change and do in this new position with Director Patel at the FBI that I'm getting up in the middle of the night and I have this notebook, and I'm on like page 10 right now of notes and ideas I have. Everything from recruitment to morale building to, just dramatic change. And I don't want to miss any of it. Little red notebook like this. And last night, I think my body just gave up. I've been sleeping basically 3 hours a night. And as you can tell by today's show, where I think I seem a little more bubbly, I came into today's show all ready to go. I probably slept 10 hours last night. I was out. I woke up. I looked at I keep the phone away from my head because I don't like that, going off in the middle of the night. And that's going to change. And I saw it said 5:17. I was like, yes, finally. I've been waking up. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. You see a 2 or a 3, no dice. Folks, you know what a tautology is? You're smart. You know what it is. Tautology is just basically a statement of truth on its face that shouldn't require repeating. A tautological statement. When you learn to see these tautologies, these tautological statements, you'll notice that the media does them all the time. And they're so ridiculous that it's the kind of thing when you see it, you can't unsee it. No, the only reason I'm saying is it's meant to sound like a deep thought. Like, let me give you an example. Something like, young people are the future. Yeah, I get it. Like, that's an obvious chronological fact of time, but people say it, and lesser minds will be like, wow, that's deep. I promise you, it's not. Why am I bringing that up? Guy's like, you got to throw this one in the show. Politico. Trump administration fires early career federal workers. It could alter the future of government. Can you just leave that up? Can we savor this one for a second? He did. Guy fought for this hard. Guy fought for this almost as he fought for the Kathleen Kennedy leaving Star Wars thing. He was like, if he even wrote on my rundown sheet, which is like a major no-no, he's like, must cover. Trump administration fires early career workers. It could alter the future of the headline. It's an actual headline. Careful there. I almost turned into an accident. By the way, not everyone, I want you to, it's critical we learn, and everybody learn, me included, and we'll get really good at this. When you start learning how to read headlines like this, which happened for me over the course of 10 years, you just kind of laugh like, this is what a ridiculous headline. Of course, that's like young people are the future. But learn the distinction also between being told a story and the story. A story you're typically being told by a lot of people in the media is rarely the actual story. So a story you're being told now is that the American public is in revolt. Town halls are going crazy. They want this bloated government. This is a great thing. We shouldn't be looking into any of this. Here is a relatively left-leaning show, but very, very popular. It's called The Breakfast Club. One of the hosts is Charlemagne. Probably heard about him. I want you to listen to this caller that calls into the show, claims to be a federal employee. And this did not go as people expected if you're from the left. This is the story, not a story. Check this out.
Hello?
Hey, good morning. What's your name?
Yes, good morning. I want to say anonymous, but I do work for the federal government.
All right.
Can you at least tell us where?
Yes, in Florida, Miami, Florida.
No, I mean, like, what branch? Like, what do you do in the government?
Oh, Department of Human Services.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now, what's up? How are you feeling? Did you get one of those emails? Talk to us.
Yes, I got the email, and I honestly feel like this is a great opportunity to outline what you as an employee bring to the bring to the federal government. And if it's really good what you outline, they could give you an opportunity to get a promotion or something. Like, God forbid, they ask you what you've done. Any other job, they'll ask you at the end of the week, at the end of the month, because I used to do bookkeeping. Okay, so what did we do, at the end of the month? What are the clients that we have to, gear towards to? So at the end of the day, God forbid anybody make any, and it's just democratic thing. It's like, I don't want to get the parties into it, but they don't want to go to work. They want to work from home. People are not working from home. This is what you signed up for. If you don't like it, resign.
Can't say it much straighter than that. If you don't like it, resign. Folks, again, a story and the story are not the same thing. I'm seeing it now. Again, with my name being in the news cycle, the questions we're getting are so preposterous, you realize like they're not really trying to tell the story. I had to send over my bio and everything today regards to the new position. And as I was typing it out, I'm like, you don't have to like it, but just tell the truth about it. And they just refuse to do it because they have this kind of preconceived notion of any conservative that agrees to serve in government that the motives have to be malicious. And once you have that preconceived notion in your head, it is hard to write a story with even a modicum of fairness to it, which is part of the game, but shouldn't be. All right, folks, I appreciate you tuning in. And you expect these shows to get harder and harder as we close down. As I transition the business over the course of the next 2 weeks over to a different company, Silverlock, which will be run by Paula. I really appreciate it. Vita's show will not be changing. Haley's show, which will be launching soon, Haley Carania. By the way, she's up to, I think, 30,000 or something followers. You can follow Avita's show, rumble.com. You see it on the screen right now, rumble.com/Avita. And we will announce that URL at Rumble for Haley Show soon, but give her a follow on X. It's HayleyCaronia. I think we like 5X'd her followers. So she's great. You're going to absolutely love her. I can't wait. And if you want to see what's ahead for this this media company we built that I'll be divorcing myself from in the very near future, silverlock.com. Silverlock, LOCH.com. Timeline to get it launched. You are going to love her. Haley Caronia, coming soon. The Nightly Scroll with Haley. She is amazing. Make sure you follow her on X, on Truth, on Instagram, on Facebook. It's Haley, Hayley, Caronia, Caronia. She is a diehard conservative. She knows what's going on behind the scenes. She's worked in a lot of different places. She's worked with the great people over at Outkick, Clay Travis's operation. She worked at Fox for years, producing some of the more conservative shows. I've known her forever. She's amazing. Get ready. Today's show sponsored by Beam. Go to shopbeam.com/Bongino. Use code Bongino for 47% off your first order. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at PhD Weight Loss. Life-changing, that was the phrase producer Jim used to describe his experience with PhD Weight Loss. Jim lost over 40 pounds when the folks at PhD Weight Loss put him on their program. He's kept it off for over a year and he hit his goal. He looks 10 years younger. How do you keep it off? You check in with your PhD weight loss nutritionist over the phone, and your personalized PhD plan will help teach you a life-changing skill, how to eat, which is everything. Jim did it. You can do it. Do what producer Jim did. Get the help PhD Weight Loss provided and schedule that consultation today. This is the Weight Loss Company. And right now, take advantage of the Bongino podcast only limited offer. You get a free consultation and 2 free additional weeks of the program, including meals. You give them a call at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Or go to myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com. Weight loss results vary per individual. Consult with a medical professional. All right, fellas, one more time. So as I was saying before, to media folks reaching out, I'm not going to answer the question again. The last show will be March 14th. I've only got a couple of days with you all. I've got about 10 more shows left. Have to take some days off. Every day is tough. It gets tougher and tougher to know we're going to have to depart from each other for some time. It's tearing the heart out of me. But I'm sorry again. I'm not answering the question about how I intend on going from a political commentator to a nonpartisan job like the FBI. I already did it once before. I was a nonpartisan actor in the Secret Service working for Democrat and Republican administrations. Stop asking. It's not my fault you can't do that and swear an oath and put your opinions to the side. That's your issue. Stop projecting that issue onto me. Okay? Moving on. I want to thank Caroline Levitt. She gave a really nice answer yesterday when asked this same question in the press room. Check this out.
The FBI Director, Kash Patel, informed Republican senators that it would be an individual named as the deputy who was a special agent currently at the FBI. And of course, Mr. Bongino is not. Well, what was the reason for naming Mr. Bongino to this position? And was Mr. Patel not correct in making that assurance to those senators?
I'm not sure if anybody in this room has listened to Mr. Bongino when he talks about the past corruption at the FBI, when he talks about his experience serving for the United States Secret Service. This is a man who loves his country and who has honorably served our country in ways that many people have not. He understands the depth of the corruption at these institutions, which the American people reelected President Trump to shake up. And I think it's quite despicable to see many networks in this room who have had chyrons on their television screens labeling Mr. Bongino as a far-right podcaster. He is not. He is a former law enforcement agent. He is a former Secret Service agent who put his life on the line to protect this country, and that is why the President of the United States has entrusted him for this important role. He's also an outsider to this Washington swamp, and we often see that when outsiders are appointed to such coveted positions, a lot of people in this city get very, very nervous, and they should be, because Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Attorney General Bondi are focused on rooting out the corruption at these agencies and ending the weaponization of government once and for all.
You're damn right I am. Thank you, Caroline. We deeply appreciate the kind words. That's very nice of you to say. You know, folks, dealing with travel requirements in my line of work in the Secret Service before I came over here is one of the toughest things I've ever done. Watching my young daughter at the time, who's now in college, but back then was very young, crying every time the suitcase came out was a really big deal. That was work I did for a Democrat president. Did it matter to me that he was a Democrat? No. I'm really sorry you can't swear an oath and do that. Media people who've asked me this question repeatedly. It's frustrating beyond imagination to have to deal with people who can't think outside their own box. On a lighter note, I want to move on. I want to spend the whole week. I've only got about 10 shows left with you guys, 10, 11 shows. I do have to, again, take a couple of days off. I have to travel up to D.C. and get some stuff done. There is a pretty extensive paperwork requirement you have to go through for backgrounds and things like that. I'm sure you guys can imagine. Many of you out there have been government employees. It's some of the same paperwork. There's not like a special set of paperwork for people. It's the same paperwork. So Paul and I were hustling last night, getting information and stuff, trying to get this in. But did work in the White House for many years. And I'm going to tell you something. There are two, most people don't know this. When you ask for a White House tour, you know what? Let me play this first, and I'll show you why this matters. I'll give you kind of the inside baseball efforts. Here is President Trump. The White House tours have finally reopened. Thank you, Melania Trump's office, who I hear had a big role in that. It's the people's house. We own it. We bought it. There should be White House tours in there. This happened. President Trump wanted to go and greet everyone. I'm going to tell you the inside scoop on this after you see. This is very unusual. Check this out.
But I want to thank you very much for coming. The tour is so great. We did such a good job. First Lady worked very hard in making it perfect, and I think you're going to really love it. And I heard you were here, and I said, let's stop by and say hello. And it's a group of very smart-looking people, I must say. Very smart. Maybe someday you'll be here as the president, right? Somebody in this group has a chance. Have a good time. Have a great tour. And you're going to give them a special tour, okay? You're going to get a special tour. Have fun, everybody. USA! 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 USA!
So, just so you know why this is so, one, let's just state the obvious. That's so President Trump for him to do, to take time out of his day and go and say hello to people. U.S. citizens, obviously, people visiting the White House, just happy to be there. But you may say to yourself, if you've never been inside the complex, the 18-acre White House complex there, well, what's the big deal? His office is like right next door. Just go say hello. No, that's not what happens. I don't know if you know this, but there are two tours. I'm going to let you in on some inside baseball here. You really want a tour? You want the West Wing tour. They're hard to get. I don't want to say you got to know someone, but they're really difficult to get because they don't do tours in the West Wing, obviously, when the president's there on work hours. So they may do them after hours and on the weekends, but there are very, very limited slots. The West Wing of the White House, which is the western portion of the White House, obviously, is where all the work happens. There are TV shows about it. The West Wing, you don't know what the West Wing is. You got the Oval Office over there. You have the cabinet room, Roosevelt room. You have vice president's office, the chief of staff. There's the White House mess is over there where everybody eats. That's all in the West Wing. That's not really close to where that is. I know that area well. That's the East Wing. Above it is the residence. You have the two floors above it are the residence, but that floor there, the ground floor and on the downstairs, that's where the tour, that's where you're allowed in. That's a cool tour, don't get me wrong. There's a ton of history there. The East Wing tour, though, there are a lot of spots. I think you got to call your congressman or something to get on the list. But the president almost never goes over there. Matter of fact, if you watch that video again, you'll notice there's a little divider he walks around. That divider is there for a reason, because that's the hallway the president goes up to his residence in when he's done with his workday in the West Wing, and they don't want anybody to see him. So for him to walk around a divider, you notice the Secret Service guys, even though it's pretty secure, all walked over there right away. So yeah, on the other, right to his back is a divider. He had to walk around, and you'll see on Dan Scavino's Twitter feed, he's got a little video. You'll see him peek his camera over the divider because that's where the president goes up to his residence. But he's rarely in that hallway ever. That's so Donald Trump. That's just what he does. So thank you, President Trump, for making the people feel at home back in the people's house. It's our house, and he knows that. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and here's what I got for you. I got a good guy, Benny Johnson. He had an FBI agent on, Steve Friend, who I know Steve's a patriot, and had an interesting take on some of the stuff going on in the FBI. It's still out there in the public domain, and I want you to, you can draw your own judgments from it once I play it. Quick break, we'll get right back to that. Hey, we won the election, and the fight to restore our great nation's only beginning. Now's the time to take a stand, and Patriot Mobile's leading the charge. As America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, Patriot Mobile offers a way to vote with your wallet without compromising on quality or convenience. Patriot Mobile isn't just about providing exceptional cell phone service. It's a call to action to defend our rights and freedoms. With Patriot Mobile, you'll get outstanding nationwide coverage because they operate on all 3 major networks. If you have cell phone service today, you can get cell phone service with Patriot Mobile with a coverage guarantee. But the difference is every dollar you spend with Patriot Mobile supports a company that believes in the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, and our veteran and first responder heroes. Switching is easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based customer support team will help you find the perfect plan. So go to patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT and get a free month of service with promo code Dan. Switch to Patriot Mobile today and defend freedom with every call and text you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT. Thanks, Patriot Mobile. Again, media folks, that's called an ad. That's what we do here. We are winding our business down. It's going to take a couple weeks. I know you all are stunned by that. But again, pretend to do some act of journalism. It is not unusual for a business in this space to have an ad-supported revenue model that keeps it free for people. Pretending to be stunned. This was an interesting clip I saw on the Benny Johnson show. Steve Friend is an FBI agent. I believe he's no longer with the Bureau, but and he's got an interesting book on the matter as well, so why he's not there. But this is a fascinating take on what some sources are telling him may be going on inside the FBI, which obviously I took an interest in checking this out. Take a listen.
I am very familiar with the subterfuge that's going on, that's been going on just even outside of the context of destroying classified material. You talk about the ICE raids and the fact that all the different federal law enforcement agencies have been tapped to assist with the deportations of the illegal aliens and the resistance that has existed inside my ex-girlfriend over at the FBI. I mean, heard different people have come to me with stories about the fact that there are open conversations in the office where they say, well, if you don't want to do it, if you have a moral objection, you don't have to do it. And what are your thoughts on people who do? And then people will openly say, I think you're a Nazi if you do that. And then after that, they'll say, hey, by the way, we're looking for a volunteer who wants to go on this raid. So if you raise your hand, everybody just says, oh, that's a MAGA Nazi. And you're going to have the target on your back at that point.
Folks, I mean, it's interesting how media people have been reaching out to me, people around me and others, trying to get a take on how a guy who is a conservative can act in a nonpartisan position. And yet when guys like Steve Friend and Garrett O'Boyle and other whistleblowers highlight information they're having, I don't hear the media taking an interest in that. Like, well, what if we had a problem in a federal agency enforcing the law like the FBI, where there may be some partisan intent in people making law enforcement decisions? Maybe reach out. While I'm still on the private sector side, I'm not in the government yet. I'm allowed to have an opinion. I'm free to have an opinion, and I will. Maybe you should ask about that. Maybe we can both contribute to depoliticizing areas of our federal government that shouldn't be politicized. You want to help or not? I certainly do. Kristi Noem has been doing a great job over at DHS too. Folks, we can't have this. We cannot have a government that leaks like a sieve. When you sign up for a government position, you agree to keep sensitive information sensitive and close. Not everything is classified. There's some information that's for official use only, and there's some that just requires your personal discretion, i.e. it may not be for official use only, but it's not the kind of thing you're going to advertise on the front cover of the New York Times because it may be sensitive and you may not have permission to share it. It's incredible how many people don't seem to have this anymore, and you're seeing these leaks left and right. Kristi Noem has implemented a policy of using the polygraph, which can be, if you get a good polygrapher, it can be hard to beat. If you're going to leak information in violation of your oath to the government to keep that information sensitive, especially when it could create a danger for someone else, then you risk getting caught and you risk getting your job, losing your job, being terminated. Here's Kristi Noem saying she's found people who were leaking information about these ICE raids, which could cause a really serious public safety situation, leaking that. Check this out.
I have found some leakers. We are continuing to get more. They will be fired. There will be consequences. And remember, when they leak information to the press in order to blow an op, they are putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. They are risking their lives and putting their families in the position where they'll have to live without those individuals any further. So you bet we have used every tactic that we have. And it's amazing how these bureaucrats who have an agenda to stop the work that we're doing to bring safety to America, how they will sell each other down the river if it's just to protect themselves. So don't worry, I am doing everything to find these leakers and to get rid of them so that we can do our work and our law enforcement officers and agents can do it safely.
Folks, listen, a polygraph, like anything else, isn't unbeatable, but they can be hard to beat, especially when you get a very skilled polygrapher, and many of these people are. Do you think the Trump administration is going to allow people who chose to work in the government to leak sensitive government information that could cause someone a serious physical injury or death? Of course they're not going to do that. It's their job in the executive branch to act as an executive and keep information integrity alive. You thought there wasn't going to be some follow-up to this? Secretary Noem's not having it. And I think they're establishing a standard right away. Your job is at risk if you do this. Tulsi Gabbard's another. He's got really at this point, the dream cabinet. And he's got finally a real diversity of viewpoints, but diversity that matters, not diversity the way the woke left uses it. Tulsi Gabbard's currently serving as a DNI post-confirmation. And a monster story broke about sex chats amongst people in sensitive intelligence positions in the NSA. Again, folks, your personal private time, you do you, man. I'm not there to criticize your lifestyle if you're not breaking the law. Whatever you want, you do, as long as you're not breaking the law or infringing on anyone else's rights and liberties. However, government time, sensitive information, no dice. Tulsi Gabbard's not having it either. Check this out.
Not so good to see some of these transgender sex chats among the intel officials. What are we going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, what we're going to do has already been done. There are over 100 people from across the intelligence community that contributed to and participated in this, what is really just an egregious violation of trust, what to speak of like basic rules and standards around professionalism. I put out a directive today that they all will be terminated and their security clearances will be revoked.
I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, ladies and gentlemen. There's accountability in any job. Nobody's angry at people who go and work for the government. We're angry at people who are not working for the government and taking your taxpayer dollars. Shouldn't be hard to figure out. Why are so many Americans now getting behind this Elon Musk, Trump administration? Is it Amy Gleason effort in the Doge to make government more efficiently operate on taxpayer funds? Because they know, because they've been operating in the private sector forever, where if you waste money, get caught, or do this kind of stuff on company time, you actually get fired. This isn't new to them. Why are you acting surprised? By the way, thank you all for following Haley. Haley, we're a new show launching soon, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Nightly Scroll with Haley Carania. She is at Haley Carania on X, HayleyCaronia, Haley Carania with a C. She's up to 25,000 followers. I just retweeted her. So that is really fantastic. Thank you guys so much. You're the best for Crowder's. We love Crowder. Crowder's the best. Mug Club's here. Crowder's been crushing our Mug Club. There are a lot of mugs out there with Mug Club. I wish I would have thought of that first. Maybe we should have done a Mug Club ourselves. A genius move. He's the best. We love you, Steve. Thanks. Unfortunately, we had a little techie issue in the beginning of the show. We lost a few minutes in the beginning, but we did it over. Okay, I'm going to take our last break of the show. I'm going to take it because I've got a really important segment coming up. Something big happened last night. Folks, Donald Trump has transformed the Republican Party. That's not a news flash. I get it. Many of you are like, oh my gosh, Dan, no kidding. I haven't seen unity like I saw last night in a long time. There's always a few who want to do their own thing without regard for the bigger Republican MAGA message. Something happened yesterday. And, I'm a spreadsheets guy. plus ones, minus ones. I don't get emotional. Speaker Johnson and the whip on the Republican side managed to align the Republicans with a slim lead in the House in the direction. Good thing. Have your beefs on other stuff? That's fine. I have. It's been out on the air. But President Trump apparently got on the phone and with Speaker Johnson made this happen last night. It's a big deal. I'm going to tell you what happened and why it matters in a minute. Executive orders are great, but you need legislation. Have you seen the news from some economists forecasting a depression, not a recession, but a depression by the year 2030? We could be in a perfect storm if Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point with the largest generation hitting retirement. A smaller workforce usually means a smaller tax base. Pair that with our growing national debt and a rising cost of living, and we could have a big problem. So what are you doing now to help protect your family for the future? Gold has been a safe haven asset in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold that doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. So protect your future today. Text Dan to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, only information. I buy my gold from Birch Gold. You can trust them too. So text my name, Dan, to the number 989898 today. Message and data rates apply. Last sponsor, HelixSleep.com/Dan. That's the mattress I have in my house right now. It's a Helix. Helix Sleep is an award-winning mattress brand. It's been the essential reason why I wake up feeling refreshed and ready to tackle the new day. No more tossing and turning or sleepless nights. If you're dealing with snoring, sleep apnea, back pain, if you sleep hot, Helix has a mattress option for you. Visit HelixSleep.com/Dan to get started. You know a good night's sleep is one of the best ways to have a better quality of life. Helix mattress can help figure out which mattress will work best for you. I have a pretty hectic schedule, long work days. I always look forward to sleeping on my Helix mattress. It's a game changer for sleep. So many of my listeners are getting Helix mattresses now. It makes a big difference in their lives as well. And right now, get Helix's best offer available, exclusive for my listeners, 27% off site-wide. That's right. Just visit HelixSleep.com/Dan. Get 27% off site-wide. Once again, that's HelixSleep.com/Dan. Thank you, Helix. We appreciate it. Here is Speaker Johnson last night. Folks, the process has started. I want to emphasize to you something very important. The process for this, what Donald Trump calls a one big, bold, beautiful bill, has just begun. The bill that is going to actually do the stuff in the bill, i.e. a transformation of the border, building the wall, establishing our military dominance and lethality again, tax cuts, the economic prosperity program, the no tax on tips. This is a start, the start of the reconciliation process. They needed to get every Republican on board. They can only lose one. They did lose one, Congressman Massey. I get what he's trying to do, but this is one of those letting the enemy, the perfect be the enemy, the good thing. I understand. However, we're dealing with slim majorities. I'm dealing with the world we live in, not the world we'd want to live in. But I understand the principle. I've been a fan of cutting government spending for a long time. Speaker Johnson, unbelievably, got this thing through last night. Got it passed to start this thing. Here he was right afterwards. This is a big bill that will actually really change America if this thing passes. Check this out.
Speaker, do you have the votes?
Yep.
How much work are you going to have to do out there on the floor to make sure you can actually get there?
I think we've got it.
You think you already blocked it down?
I do, yeah.
Is the Senate's resolution Plan B?
There's no Plan B. This is the only plan and we're running with it.
Are you worried you'll lose the president's trust if it fails?
No. I've spoken to the president multiple times today. He knows exactly what we're doing and why.
Folks, I want to emphasize to you the importance of this. Executive orders are fantastic, and I really applaud President Trump for using the constitutional powers of the presidency to do the things he wants to do and to move the country in that promised Make America Great Again agenda. He's not a guy who promises things and doesn't do them, and it's fantastic that he's moving them in the right direction. But executive orders, are limited in their ability to change the country. I've asked you in the chat many times. You already know. What'd you say? Crowder says you owe him $30, Dan? Sorry, I'll have to write you a check. Maybe cash if we got stop by Dallas some point. Folks, executive orders are only good as long as you're the executive. Now, if, say, J.D. Vance were to run and J.D. Vance wins next time, the likelihood of him overturning a Trump executive order is probably slim to none, and slim left town. However, if there's another election, not if there's going to be another election, if in the next election the Democrats win, those executive orders are going to be bye-bye. See you later. Legislation can be overturned with new legislation, but it's not easy. You have to get a majority of the House and sometimes a filibuster-proof Senate, depending on the process you use. It's a big deal. This bill is enormous. I agree with the President Trump approach and the House side approach. I'm not telling you the Senate side is wrong. I understand what they're trying to do. But the Senate's saying, let's take an easy win on the border and defense, move on to the tough stuff later. The House is saying, no, let's put it all in one big bill. Tactically speaking, you don't have to listen to me. I mean, do your own. You guys got elected in your own districts. I'm just saying it is easier to rally people around one big, bold message than to have to rally people twice. Right? It's easier to play one game and one big game and win it than to win two big games back to back. That's just a simple sports analogy. You don't want to play the Super Bowl twice. It is easy to rally people around one thing when the cause is so bold and transformative. Also, it affords you the opportunity to tell everyone up there on the House side, because they're not going to get any Democrat votes, hey, listen, this big bill, everybody's going to have to take it on the chin a little bit. Not everybody's going to get what they want. And you don't have so much infighting with it. I think the big bill is the way to go. Amazingly, the AP came out with this story. Nearly 40% of contracts canceled by Musk's Doge are expected to produce no savings. I would be stunned to see how they got mad. Is this one of those scoring things they do with the CPO where they magically tell you tax cuts cost the government revenue, but cannot produce a single data set of examples long term showing that income tax cuts cost the government revenue? Not really sure how that works. I'm not sure where they got the math from, but Guy says he has wait, you have something over there? You said I don't know what this is. Guy says there was a math lesson previously on how this works. And it was it NBC one time? I may have missed this, so let me hear this.
You see it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population, 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it.
Yeah, it is incredible because I don't know where you got that math from. I'm not sure. There's a calculator. Do you have it on your phone, guys? You have a calculator app? Because I'm pretty sure it's standard on just about every phone. What do you have? You have an iPhone? You have one of those Google phones, Android phones. I'm reasonably confident there's a calculator app, and it can do complicated calculations. And the crazy thing is it does it like that. You even got ChatGPT and Grok. You can ask them questions like, hey, can you do this math for me? I didn't know you guys still had that running around, by the way. Good call on that one. The Mary Gay, Brian Williams math. They're making a big mistake here, too. I told you the Democrats are making an enormous mistake dying on this hill of essentially fighting for extended periods of government waste and abuse. American workers live and work in jobs every day, in coal mines and office buildings everywhere, where they're forced to do performance reviews. They may like or they may not, but they have to do them to justify their jobs. Doge is popular because those same people say, well, if you work for the government, why don't you have to do that too? Here's our friend Chaya Raichik over at Libs at TikTok. The new poll is absolutely devastating to Democrats. The Doge is extremely popular by huge margins. They screech about it on publications, but the American people aren't falling for it. She shows how irrelevant the media and leftist talking heads are. Peter St. Onge is a commentator. We use his content often. Great on the economic material. We've used it often on the show. You can find him on X. Commented on the Doge right here and Doge's popularity. This is worth hearing. Check this out.
The Department of Government Efficiency is rising in the polls with all-important swing voters. This despite left-wing media attacking Doge's anti-corruption crusade with everything they've got, and yet Doge is getting more popular among the American people, while Donald Trump is running about 10 points more popular than last time around, in case media wonders if they've lost their power to hypnotize the voters. In a recent video, I mentioned a December CBS poll that found support for Trump's economic policies is off the charts. 2/3 of Americans want regulations cut, 2/3 want oil drilling expanded, and here's where Doge comes in. 3/4 of Americans want government spending cut, while 3/4 also want tax cuts. Those go hand in hand. Now, keep in mind that was all before Doge hit the corruption motherlode, the transgender comic books in Peru, the Politico subscriptions, the hundreds of millions to the Taliban's Sesame Street in Iraq.
Folks, listen to me here. This is important. The era decades ago, as I've said often, of CBS, NBC, and ABC, Cronkite, Brokaw, Peter Jennings, and others, basically dictating what the nation spoke about, is over. You know, Justin, when were you born? 2002. My gosh, I mean, it's insane. Like, I really don't feel this old. So I was born in 1974. I remember this. I'm not going to tell you I was following politics when I was 6 years old and sound ridiculous. But I remember the Reagan presidency. I remember my mother and father talking about it all the time. If it was not discussed, when I say it, I mean anything. The Doge, transgender comic books in Peru, whatever it may be. If it didn't make the nightly news, you didn't hear about it because there was a good chance it wasn't going to make your local paper either. So unless you were living inside the government and filtering through the paper every day and had an inside source giving you information, there was no way for you to know really that this was going to happen unless you were really like a diehard advocate for government reform and doing a lot of homework every day. Twitter, X, Facebook, TikTok, the internet, websites. I mean, Drudge at the time before, went way far left. They changed everything. It is now, things are a national story at the drop of a hat. Why is this important? Because of the transition to this next segment. The White House Correspondents Association, the WHCA, which to me means WACA, the White House Communications Agency, which handles comms, but that's different. The White House Correspondents Association that represents media interests, they're very upset about a decision that was made yesterday. And the way they're framing this does not necessarily align with my experience working in and around the White House. They're making it out like this is some kind of Caroline Leavitt, tyrannical, Donald Trump-led movement. They're trying to cut off media access to the White House. That's ridiculous. Here she is yesterday saying how they're going to be operating the press room and the mechanics of how the press operates with the White House a little bit differently. And cue the meltdown afterwards. Check this out.
As you all know, for decades, a group of D.C.-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility.
Listen, I get it. Media interests are going to be in promoting their own outlet, whatever it may be, Reuters, AP. They want people on their site. That's a business interest, which is interesting because they keep attacking people like me who have business interests myself that want people on our site for the same thing they want. But this new democratized information exchange era requires new ways of operating. You're not obligated to agree with it, but suggesting in any way that somehow your access to information is going to be shut down is ridiculous. There are press releases that go out on email. You can go online and queue up C-SPAN or 1,000 different outlets. And guys, we take stuff live all the time. No one's hiding information from you. Donald Trump yesterday sat in the Oval Office and what did he take? Like 20 questions? I've never seen a guy take more questions. This is your idea of Donald Trump sealing off the White House to press inquiries? That's insane. Matter of fact, Caroline Leavitt brought it up yesterday on her X account. Peter Baker at the New York Times, He said that this reminds him of the early days of Putin's reign, how the Kremlin took over the press pool. Let me explain to you how the press pool, this is ridiculous. Caroline Levitt responded, give me a break, Peter. Moments after you tweeted this, the president invited journalists into the Oval and took questions for nearly an hour. Your hysterical reaction to our long overdue and much needed change to an outdated organization is precisely why we made the change. Gone are the days where left-wing stenographers posing as journalists, such as yourself, dictate who gets to ask what. Dropping the hammer on that one. Folks, there are various types of press. When you go out with the press thing, I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but the press pool gets the most intimate access. That's the people you see in that press room. They're the ones that travel on Air Force One, the ones that travel in the motorcade. They'll get like a P pass for the press pool. You can get access to the press pool on the road too. You can get a PL, like a pool local. Well, they'll insert and embed local reporters. If you're going to say, whatever, Cincinnati, a local Cincinnati NBC guy, you stick them in there as well so they get access on the road when you're in Cincinnati. Then you get others like L stuff. But the White House Democrats and Republicans, I promise you, because I've worked for both, do everything they can to get access to the broadest amount of press people. That doesn't mean it has to be the same press people every time. You don't have to agree with the decision. But any assertion that this is some kind of Kremlin-like clamp down on the press is absurd. Nobody is more open and accessible to the press than President Trump. Have you seen a single event in the last month he's at where there are cameras and mics there and boom mics where he doesn't stop and take a question or two? The only time I've seen him not do it is late at night when he's leaving an event and he's got to get back. That's it. I mean, if you had any evidence that, let's say you could produce some data and receipts, maybe the MAGA audience would take it seriously. If you said, hey, Donald Trump's only taken 2 questions since he entered office, he's taken probably 10x the number of questions anyone else, besides prior Donald Trump in 2016. And it's precisely for reasons like this. Again, with the headlines and the misleading efforts by media people to tell a story rather than the story, it gets frustrating for people like me. Yet they still have all the access they want. Here's what I mean. AP headline. Federal technology staffers resign rather than help Elon Musk and the Doge. Well, it's interesting because that's not really it's a story, but it's not what? Folks in the chat, it's not the story. Elon notes more fake news from Associated Propaganda. Those were Democrat political holdovers who refused to return to the office. They would have been fired had they not resigned. Can you skip to Jim's email? You saw that, right? Folks, if you're not going to show some kind of modicum of interest in the truth or actually doing actual journalism, don't be surprised when people don't treat you like actual journalists. So this happened. This is producer Jim. This is his X account at JJ Verdi. So he gets an email. I know you're going to make me cover the Star Wars thing too, aren't you? This story we had to get to though. Jim, this is from Julie Walker at the AP. I'm not sure if you produced the Dan Bongino show, but AP Radio is looking for permission to put out 2 sound bites from the show with courtesy. Would you know who would connect? She's not rude. I'm not sure you produced the Dan Bongino show. Jim responds, you want to know why AP's been kicked out of the press room? Look at this first sentence. All you have to do is look at my bio here, his LinkedIn, Facebook, True Social. I'll add one. He wrote a book about the show called The Dan Bongino Show Survival Guide. You know, the basics, make journalism great again. Or turn the radio on for 5 minutes where I probably addressed producer Jim 1,000 times. This is why I love that picture. We need to get that for the new studio. By the way, we may be in the new studio. We may be in there as soon as next week. Now, I want to note, we have different personalities. Michael is the optimist. Guy is kind of the baseline, like never moves his emotions either way. Justin is the more pragmatist guy who believes if they tell you we'll be in there tomorrow, it means next week. He always adds like 7 days or 7x anything. We could possibly be in the new studio as early as next week. He doesn't like possiblies and maybes, Justin. But Justin, can we both agree the new studio, you are going to absolutely love it. It is, just wait. You are going to love the visuals. Even if we get a week's worth of shows in there, Haley will be using it for a 6 p.m. show. Evita's going to be using it. You are going to love the look. And thank you to the studio designers and my wife, Paula, who really was the one who put her heart and soul into it. I want to get to this too. Expect more of this hysteria. And of course, these narratives and stories will be propagated by people with a political agenda as this bill moves through Congress, this big, bold, beautiful bill that I promise you will transform America. This is real, lasting, heavy change. If this bill that they got started on last night, Speaker Johnson and the Republicans, about the border, defense, tax cuts, no tax on tips, there's so much good stuff in there. If it passes, it's going to be the biggest thing, one of the biggest things to happen in 20 years. Of course, you got Democrats had to get super political about it and give you the grandma's going to get thrown off the cliff. Dogs and cats are going to be living together, Ghostbusters style, with the freak out. And they do this every single time. I'm not sure it's going to work, though, now that Donald Trump has the megaphone. Check this out.
Children will be devastated. Families will be devastated. People with disabilities will be devastated. Seniors will be devastated. Hospitals will be devastated. Nursing homes will be devastated. So let me be clear. House Democrats will not provide a single vote to this reckless Republican budget. Not one. Why? Because we're voting with the American people.
Of course, it didn't end there. Hysterical responses, hyperbole to the max. It didn't end there. You always have to throw out the R racist card as well. They do it so often. The sad part about this is real racists may actually get away with it because you've called so many people racist. Nobody takes the label seriously when it comes from folks like Pramila Jayapal. Here she is again with the racist line, brings immigrants into the mix. And why do the Democrats, every time they talk about immigrants to the country, talk about cleaning toilet bowls, picking vegetables? Do you really believe you're making headway into the hearts and minds of people, insulting immigrants? My wife's an immigrant. She's running my entire company and was a vice president with a huge DC firm and is a really, really skilled web and database designer. Why is every immigrant picking vegetables or cleaning toilet bowls to these leftists? You notice how they talk to people? Check this out.
Immigrants are us. Immigrants are us, and we all deserve respect and dignity. If you look at the food that's on your table, think about who picked it. If you look at your homes.
This is why you see the cannibalism theory. Do you understand how they all have to up the ante every time to make it look like they're the most radical so they can appeal to the base of donors and everyone else? When someone says, oh, we're going to throw grandma off a cliff, someone say, oh, they're going to throw immigrants, they're going to lock up the kids. This is the kind of insanity that gins up money and support amongst their restless base that just wants to see something happen. But that's what also leads to cannibalism theory. And you're seeing it here in this article at The Hill. Some Democrat donors, ladies and gentlemen, have had enough of this. Angry Democrat donors turn off the flow of money. Quote, I'll be blunt here. The Democrat Party is effing terrible. Plain and simple, one major donor said. In fact, it doesn't get much worse. I told you they were going to start to eat themselves alive as they all jockey for the scraps from Longside's table, if you've ever seen Braveheart. When the pie starts getting smaller and smaller and people are hungry, folks, everybody starts digging with their nails at the last piece. You're seeing that now because they don't have a unified message. And then when they get hungry, they start eating each other. Here's a top Biden advisor, Mike Donilon, now in the Democrats. Now the Democrats eating each other alive. Going back now, looking back in the past after the debate and saying Biden shouldn't have got out, that it was insane to force him out. I told you they were going to turn on each other as things got bad. I actually predicted this before the election. Watch this.
Now, lots of people have terrible debates. Okay? I mean, Trump had a terrible debate against Harris, right? Reagan had a terrible debate. Obama had a terrible debate. Lots of people have terrible debates. Usually, the party doesn't lose its mind. But that's what happened here. It melted down. And what happened was, in my view, and look, I Look, I think folks who had this view believed that, that Biden was going to lose. He didn't have it anymore. He had to get out. That was the best thing for the party. I understand that's their view. Okay, but, I have a view too, right? And my view is, I think it was insane. I think the party lost its mind.
The pie is disappearing. You see what's happening, right? Everybody's hungry. Everybody's hungry and thirsty, and they need a bit. And whereas the Republican Party has been rejuvenated under Donald Trump in just 30 days with this massive agenda he put forth, everybody's at the point of they'll never get satiated with the wins, but they're feeling pretty darn good. The opposite is happening over there. That's why you're seeing this scrap and everybody trying to say something more outrageous to get some cameras on them and some more attention because they see it all falling apart and they want to preserve that little piece of the pie they have left before they start eating each other. All right, I got to make an executive decision here. So we put together this show prep sheet every day. You see my notes on it right here. And I'm like, well, that's not my handwriting. What the hell is this at the end? Doesn't even look like my handwriting. It says, here, let me show you. Must cover. I'm thinking it's a story about me, the FBI, maybe a story about this massive bill last night. No, it isn't. So out of respect for Guy, and look at this, I'm getting goosebumps. Why? Because these guys, folks, Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy's planning to exit Lucasfilm at the end of 2025. Yay! According to the guys, I don't know who this person is. They have informed me that I don't know this person. They personally attribute the collapse of the Star Wars franchise to this woman, Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen, I don't know you at all. I trust my people. I have no reason to believe they're lying. I'm just saying these guys want me to sound excited. So, yay. You know what? I may collapse the wire. You really should put the flames thing up just for you. We never use it. I mean, they're so it said they've never written on my show prep sheet ever. Is this Guy's handwriting or Justin's? Guy, must cover right there.